Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to talk about a topic that has been gaining more and more attention, I feel like in the last year maybe, in the physical media community, and it's about collecting habits. Hello again and thanks for tuning in. As I said, this is a topic that has been having more and more attention, I feel, in the last year in the community, and I would like to give my 5 cents in this conversation because I think that if you are a collector that are struggling with these issues, it's good to hear about other people that maybe went through similar cases, how they go over it, and also to hear some ideas that could be beneficial for you as well. So I divided this video into 4 chapters, so let's dive into the first one, which is getting to know what kind of collector you are. And maybe one first step that you can take to know what kind of collector you are is by knowing why you collect movies. And I know there are plenty of videos out there that talk about the benefits of physical media. I don't want to turn this video into that topic, but for sure some of those reasons are a solid incentive into becoming a physical media collector. For example, do you collect only the movies that you love the most? Movies from your childhood? Do you also collect movies that you haven't seen yet and make blind purchases? Do you buy only from some specific directors or like music composers, even studios like A24 or Neon, or even some specific actors or actresses? And why do you do this? Is it because you like to see them on the shelf? Is it because you want to have them forever in case that streaming platforms delete the content eventually? Or even worse, that they would modify or remove a scene from a controversial movie and you want to have access to the original one. So there are of course plenty of reasons why someone would start a collection. And once you know that, maybe you can also ask, okay, what kind of format do I want? Do I prefer DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, VHS, Laserdisc? There's a wide variety. And of course there are formats that are more popular than others, so it's easier to have access to some of them, but also can make them more expensive. Some old stuff can be very hard to find, so on. So what are you after? And also within the formats, right, you also have different versions of things. You have collector's editions, standard editions, boutique labels doing very fancy stuff, even editions from overseas. You can get like a Japanese stuff, like if you're in the US, you can get things from Europe, for example. If you're in Europe, you can get things from many countries inside the EU. And in these different formats of releases, you can have very standard releases where maybe just the movie is included. For example, I can think of this one, Escape from LA, I have reviewed in the channel. This is a very standard, even though it's a 4K release and it has this slipcover. It's just the disc with the movie, no bonus features or anything. Depending on the type of collector that you are and what you are after, you can find it a little sad. In my case, I really like the cover, but I find it a little sad that it doesn't have any bonus feature or anything special. There is a better release from Shout Factory in the US, which I don't have, but by having other John Carpenter releases from Shout Factory, I'm sure that is a much better version. And in general, I'm not the kind of collector that double dip. And even though I like the movie, I'm very well aware that this is not a fantastic movie that I want to watch all the bonus features and so on. So for now, I'm good with this version and that's it. And just to follow on the Carpenter theme, I have, for example, this standard release of The Thing, which is a movie that has very fancy editions out there. But of course, it's a cult movie that is very popular among collectors. And all those fancy releases sell out very fast, and then if you want to get one of those, you need to find them very expensive on eBay. And I kind of don't want to do that myself, and I found this one on a good offer. Wanted to watch the movie for first time in 4K, so I just got the standard release, and eventually, hopefully for a new anniversary of the movie at some point, there will be some collector's edition or one of these fancier releases that hopefully I can get for a normal price. And why I'm mentioning these things in this first chapter of knowing what kind of collector are you? Because knowing what kind of release you're after modify the urgency that you have to buy a certain title, right? You have the whole range between pre-order and waiting for a sale. And limited edition, collector's editions, normally you want to buy the closest you can to the pre-order stage. And for non-limited standard releases like this one of The Thing, there's absolutely no hurry to get. You can get it just like during Black Friday or any other wild sale like that. And that brings me to the second chapter, which is budget. I heard this from other collectors when I started getting more serious into collecting. I started this YouTube channel and so on, that a recommendation was to start a budget. I started without a budget, probably like, I don't know, maybe for a year. And during that year, I was catching up after like taking a long break from collecting, catching up with 4K and getting some movies that I really liked in newer formats and fancier editions and so on. So I decided that before setting up a budget, I wanted to see how much I was spending. So instead of setting up the budget, I started logging what I was buying. So that gave me an idea of how much I was spending on average per month, for example, and that allowed me to decide if that was a okay number that I could live with it, or if I needed to adjust it. So for me, that was the first step to setting up my budget, was like to see how much I was spending, and then using that information to decide a value or a limit, let's say, that I would like to keep. And of course, this is something very personal. You know how much you are willing to spend on physical media, but I think that setting up a budget and maybe starting by logging your expenses, so it's a good start, and definitely a very healthy habit that you can have that hopefully will make you enjoy the hobby more. And at this point, another important thing to mention is the FOMO. It's very common that by looking at other people's collections, either like through YouTube or like social media, whatever, it's very easy to feel FOMO, especially if you're new into collecting physical media, because maybe you started like, I don't know, some months ago and you have like 4 or 5 movies and you see all these guys that have full walls, both sides, and might depend again by the type of collector that you are like looking forward to have a collection like that or not. But keep in mind that maybe these people has been doing that for decades in some cases, and it's definitely not a race. So you don't have to hurry, like take your time, get the movies that you want. And in my opinion, something that I would avoid, something that I have seen some people do, is go and buy batches of movies. For example, they go to the Salvation Army or some other like a thrift shop and they just get like a bunch of Blu-rays and then they have that. I feel like, yeah, sure, you're getting a collection, but it's like someone else's collection or kind of like a mixed. So, and there's like such a big chance that there will be so many movies that you don't like there. So, yeah, in my recommendation is don't hurry in the growing your collection. Your collection will grow in time if you keep into the habit of collecting, right? So, yeah, there's no hurries about it. And that brings me to the third chapter of the video, and is knowing when to buy. This is something that helps a lot if you know what type of collector you are, as I mentioned in the first chapter, because it will determine if you need to hurry or not about getting some releases. For example, Criterion, they have an amazing catalog and there are so many movies that I would like to have from them. But they run 2 yearly sales of 50%, like through Barnes & Noble, right? They also do their own sale, the shorter, blah, 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 and so on. I'm not gonna get into that detail, but the main thing is there are 2 big sales a month long each with 50% discount. So buying movies outside of those windows of sales, unless you find some specific offer, for example, like on Amazon, it's not really the best use for the money. Of course, these sales go every 6 months. So, for example, if the sales is in July and in August there's a release that you really like, then you will have to wait until the sale from November, December. I don't exactly remember when that one is. And then you are some months without the movie, and yeah, then the FOMO can kick in again if you see people making reviews of it and so on. But again, try to ignore all that noise. Wait for the next sale, because Criterion, even if some titles can sell out, they will come back in print. So if it's not now, it's gonna be later, but most definitely you will be able to get the movie that you want. If you do this for most titles, you will save money, and that money that you save can justify that if there's a title that you really want and it comes out, as the example I just said, in August right after a sale, you can still go for it because you save money during the other months. So that's the Criterion example that I have. Then, if you are a collector that likes Blu-rays and just standard 4K releases, then again, my recommendation is just wait for sales. Wait for Black Friday, Prime Day, all those kinds of like sidewise sales can be an opportunity for you to save some money. I know some people would say that buying over Black Friday is not the best time, or that maybe it's not the best for the industry. Yeah, I think that's a different discussion. Doesn't need to be Black Friday, but you can wait for some other kind of sale. Now, on the other hand, if you are into fancy releases, here the urgency definitely goes up. There are some very premium boutique labels like Manta Lab, for example, Kimchi DVD, Plain Archive, all those are very premium, very limited releases. When they announce something, everyone goes crazy. When the pre-sale goes out, things sell out in many times under a minute. So definitely for those cases, you want to have the money and be ready to buy the moment it comes out, because if you miss that window, then again, you will find those items on eBay for like maybe 5 times the price or even more. So if there's a version that you really want, use that opportunity. Is the best time to do it. And it can be soul crushing if you are like trying to get it and like, I don't know, you have the movie in your cart and then like hit pay now or something and then like, yeah, it's sold out. Those things can happen, but the best you can do is try. And then there are other boutique labels like Second Sight Film or Arrow Video, for example, that can also sell out. But this happens less frequently. So I think you have to use your sixth sense and try to determine how big is the fan base of a movie and wait for the prices to go down a little bit, or just try to order during pre-sale. In my case, I try to order during pre-sale. Most of the time is the cheapest you can get things for a while until the prices go down, and you minimize the risk of not getting the movie because it sells out. But this decision might depend on the space that I have on the budget. If I'm already too tight and the pre-sale starts now, but the movie comes out in 3 months, then I don't need to make the pre-order now, right? Can wait to the next month or even the other. And yes, there are things that can sell out during pre-sale. But again, that's where you need to use your sixth sense and try to determine what are the odds of this movie for selling out. And lastly, also connected to the question from the first chapter, knowing what kind of collector are you, some of these movies come out through labels, for example, like Umbrella Entertainment from Australia, where the same movie will have different editions, like let's say a standard one, a standard with a slipcase, and like a collector ones with a book or something else. And in those cases, the fancier version, which is the most limited one, that one is likely to sell out, let's say, close to the release date. So if you are a kind of collector that values packaging a lot, then you will want to move fast on that one. But if you don't mind so much about the packaging or even the slipcover, then you can wait for the standard release to go down on price. And also, because this is a label from Australia, you want to avoid the expensive shipping. If you wait long enough, some local retailer can also get one of those standards releases. And that process sure can take up some months, but in the end, you can save some money if you have patience. And that brings me to the fourth and last chapter of the video, and it's about getting the most out of your collection. And here there are plenty of things you can do. For example, even in the most standard releases, let's say for the 4K releases, there's normally second disc, a Blu-ray that can have the movie and bonus features. In some cases there's a dedicated disc for bonus features. That if you like the movie enough to buy it, I recommend you also take the time to enjoy the bonus features. There's a lot of very interesting material there many times, including interviews, commentary, audio tracks, behind the scenes and so on. There's a lot of very interesting material, I think. So for example, if you are experiencing that when you finish watching a movie you want to go and buy the next one, you can delay that a little bit by starting to watch the bonus material that is included in most cases. The same in fancy releases, for example with Arrow Video that includes a booklet. It's not a bad idea to also take your time and read the booklets many times. They have Criterion also does this. They have like interviews with movie critics and so on. So you get like another perspective of the movie, and there you can also find very interesting stuff. Besides that, you could also write reviews for the movies. There are like plenty of websites where you can do this. Maybe the website where you bought the disc, for example. There's also the app for Blu-ray.com. I think the app is called My Movies or something like that. You can just like Google for it. But that app also, it can be like quite time consuming. It allows you to make a catalog of your own collection. You can just scan the barcodes. And there you can also log when you watch the movies, if it's the first time you watch it and stuff like that. So it can be an interesting thing to explore. Besides that, of course, you can start a social media account. There are many platforms. For example, I guess one of the most popular at the moment, Instagram. You can have photos of your collection there, also add your reviews and benefit from the social part of the network, right? Try to find other collectors or people that like the same kind of movies and engage in conversation with them. The same here on YouTube, right? Comment on the videos, subscribe to channels, and even if you feel like it, you could start your own channel or a podcast or even a blog. There are so many things that you can do where you can still dedicate time to the hobby without having to spend money. And of course, you have Letterboxd, which is probably the most recognized social media platform for movie lovers, right? And also, don't sleep on Reddit. Reddit has plenty of subreddits of, and this is again useful if you know what kind of collector you are, because there will be subreddits for directors or movie studios or genres or collecting. There will be like however, on whichever vertical you want to take the hobby, you probably will find a subreddit for it. So that is my last advice. And if you're just getting into the hobby, consider where do you want to start. I think the most natural is to start with the movies that you love the most. And of course, it can happen that you start slowly saying, oh, yes, I want to have only these 10 movies that I love. But then when you are like 8 or 9 or like, close to finishing, your threshold will move. And then besides those movies, you will want to expand your top 10 to top 15 maybe, and so on. And also, where you're looking for all these movies, you will find other ones that you will say, hey, this is such a classic, or I love this movie so much, I haven't seen it in years. So for sure, you will find many opportunities for your collection to grow. But I would recommend try to focus on the movies that you like the most, that you know that you will watch, and hopefully you can also enjoy some of the bonus features that are included, so you can get a little bit more out of it. And that is my last advice. Try to get the most out of your collection. And now, to finish the video, of course, I would love to hear from you. Would like to hear what kind of collector are you? Are you into collecting just a specific director or a label, or just things you like? Do you appreciate packaging? Do you want premium versions, or you're fine with just the standard ones? I would love to hear those things, so drop a comment and let me know, please. I hope this video helps. Some of these things I think would have been useful for me when I got more serious into collecting, so that's why I decided to record it. If you like it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, like the video. You can also find me on Instagram, which has the same handle, Physical Media EU. There I post photos of all the items that I review. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all at Okie Dogs.